Shalom, Kal Halal, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Bahashem Nakakwadash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishop of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us this truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word and truth and in sincerity, and hopeful elect tabernacle of David, to the Aquath that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, to the 144,000 and one-third, the hopeful elect of Israel. This is Crispus Attucks. And the question is a Crispus Attucks moment imminent? And the answer is yes. Now, of course, Crispus Attucks was in what they call the Revolutionary War. And right now, everybody is hollering out about the Civil War. What is the difference between a civil war and a revolutionary war? Well, civil means civilian, does it not? Okay, and we are civilians, right? That means the people fighting against the people. Are the people fighting against the people, or are the people fighting against the government? Understand? So these are the questions, right? You have Crispus right here. The remains, right, of the victims of the Boston Massacre, right? And that's what they call, I guess, the Revolutionary War. So, Crispus, look, see how they have it all. You know, you got Edomites from England, right? And then there's Crispus. What is he doing? How is it that the first person killed in the Revolutionary War, or the Boston Massacre for that matter, is a Jake, right? His mother was a Gadite, and his father, they say, is an African, right? Let's read this. It's Crispus Attucks. Wikipedia. This article is about the 18th century American. For other uses, see Crispus Attucks disambiguation. Okay, Crispus Attucks was an American whaler, sailor, and stevedore. I don't know what the hell that is. Dock worker of African, right? So he's from the southern kingdom. Can't say which. And Gadite. Okay. Descent, who is traditionally regarded as the first person to be killed in Boston Massacre, and as a result, the first American killed in the American Revolution. Widely, he is remembered as the first American casualty of the American Revolutionary War. Okay? And I just brought that out because, I mean, okay, we're dealing with war on our soil. And there's a debate as to is this a civil war or a revolutionary war? Okay, and we're going to look at a little bit of this. We're not going to watch the whole thing. But I believe as I was watching old, forget this guy's name, Travis, old Travis here at Prepared Homestead, somebody in the comment section said Pinball had the video that you got to go watch. So we'll take a look at Pinball. We might play it all the way through. So this video might go for a stretch, but I mean, this is the hot topic right now. So we're going to report on it and do a little lesson so that everybody can get a more clear understanding on what's actually going on. Because, see, these guys, this is what they do. The Revolutionary War and the Civil War, and I'm going to fly my battle flag, and this is what they do. So they think they got a handle. And see, none of this matters what matters is what it says in the scripture. So let's get a precept. Where was I? Go here. Did I get it? We'll start right here, because we can't be ignorant of these things. This just stays up. This precept right here. This is Sirach 5:15. Be not ignorant, right, of anything in a great matter or a small. Is this a great matter or a small? So we'll just use that before we go back to the scriptures. And we'll start right here. Let's get into civil or revolutionary war. I watched a little.
Federal.
It's 30 minutes long. So, but he goes right into it early on. That's a lot. Let me skip this and we'll let this play.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Integrated Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith.
Okay, so this is old Steve Smith from Integrative Preparedness 1 hour ago. Civil or revolution? Civil war or revolution? Slovakia. All right, here we go. Take it away, Steve.
How are you all today? Grab your rebellion to tyrants and obedience to God mug from American Reversion. Fill it with something good and sip it with me while we talk. Okay, I'm sure you all are familiar with what's going down in Texas. And the question is this the start of a civil war or a revolution?
And if it is a revolutionary war, then Crispus Attucks is back in the reincarnation, ready to get shot up. So keep your eye out for that. If the first person to get shot down in Texas is a Jake, this could be a revolution. And, you know, I say that in jest, but I mean, it's worth contemplating. So I'm going to let this guy talk.
People have kind of argued about which is going to be, and I'm going to tell you it doesn't really matter. Most people don't really understand what a civil war is, and I know that about all the people who said that could be a second civil war. We've never had a civil war because of what a civil war actually is. I've gone over that ad nauseum in previous videos. I'm not going to do it again, and I've written about it in my books. Very succinctly is what that is. But a civil war is two or more groups fighting for the control of the same government. Okay, that's not what that war in the 1860s was. What the war of the 1860s was the federal government oppressing and laying overbearing rules, regulations, or failing to provide equitable defense of a whole section of the country in favor of another section. Does that sound familiar?
Okay, so let's go back in, because that'll go. He's talking fast, so let's break that down a little bit.
Slovakia. Because of what a civil war actually is, I've gone over that ad nauseum in previous videos. I'm not going to do it again, and I've written about it in my books. Very succinctly is what that is. But a civil war is...
Damn, Slovakia, the devil, has got to do his thing. He's got a job to do.
Two or more groups fighting for the control of the same government.
Okay. Two or more groups fighting for control of the same government. That's what a civil war is. Is that what we have now? Two or more groups fighting for control of the government? Maybe. You got somebody called the governor of Texas fighting against the commander-in-chief who governs the nation, if you will. Okay, so we are talking about government. We're talking about two groups fighting for control. So now, what is he going to say? Is he going to say that that's what it is? So that was his definition of civil. Okay.
fighting for the control of the same government. Okay, that's not what that war in the 1860s was.
So he just said that what we know as the Civil War, right, in 1860, was not a civil war. That's what he just said. Continue.
What the war of the 1860s was the federal government uh, oppressing and overbearing rules, regulations, or failing to provide equitable defense of a whole section of the country in favor of another section. Does that sound familiar?
So he's saying that what happened in the 1860s was not a civil war, and what's happening right now is the same thing that happened in the 1860s. So basically, he just said that what we're about to get into is not a civil war. So that does that make it a revolution? And again, it doesn't matter. But what matters is that we're not ignorant of anything in a small matter or a large. All right, so let's parse this out.
And the southern states decided, well, we're not a part of this anymore, and we're going to separate. They did, and Lincoln called up a bunch of troops and invaded the southern states, which by that time were no longer a part of the.
So is that a revolution? Okay. A revolution is to overthrow the government that is over you and then establish a new government. All right. So is that what we're seeing? Hard to say.
United States, they were a sovereign group, a sovereign political entity, the Confederate States of America, made up of sovereign states. So that was not a civil war. Is a civil war coming? It could be. It just kind of depends on how it plays out. Or is a revolution coming? It kind of depends on how it plays out. It doesn't matter. It does.
That's good. Good enough. So it doesn't. Is it a revolutionary war or is it a civil war? It doesn't matter. Right? And why does it not matter? Okay, I don't know if we're going to come back to that. But so that's why I put Crispus up there. Oh, this is Civil War. This ain't the Revolutionary War. Well, it doesn't matter. What matters is Jake is about to get shot up. Okay, and that's the point. Now let's go here. Let's go here. Let's get the normal. Let's see. Let's get Isaiah. So look at a long night at work last night. Isaiah 19. Isaiah 19, and I will set, so look at Isaiah 19 and 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, right? And they shall fight every one against his brother and every one against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. You know, we can't pull that up without identifying who the Egyptians are, so we'll go to Rev 8. Let's identify who the Egyptians are. Revelation 11 and 8, and their dead bodies, whose dead bodies? Israelites, right? Shall lie in the street of the great city. What great city? Babylon, the great city, which spiritually, okay, so Babylon the Great, which is known as America, is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So when we go back, we read about the Egyptians, right, are spiritually the Americans. So go back now, read Isaiah again, and I will set the Americans against the Americans. Now, you got the American government, you have the American the federales, right? When you're dealing with that southern border down there, you're dealing with the Mexican. It's the Mexican and American border, right? On either side. One side is the American border. On the other side is called the Mexico border. Okay, so uh, what do the Mexicans call the feds? They call them the federales. That's all. The federales. All right, so you got the federales against what? The citizens. Yeah. And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor. Now that sounds like a civil war to me. Okay, but does it matter? Doesn't matter what you call it. Okay. What can we get out of this? And they shall fight everyone against his brother. Well, Jacob and Esau are brothers, are they not? Right. And then everyone against his neighbor. Who's your neighbor? Right. Thou shalt know what? In no wise, Slovakia. Suffer. Leviticus 19 and 17, which is the law. Let's find out who neighbors are here. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise, okay, rebuke thy neighbor and suffer sin upon him. I guess we got to go to the next one. Okay. Let's go to the whole thing. 18. Let's go to 17 and 18. Leviticus 19, 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Okay. There it is. So we go back to Isaiah. We understand who the neighbors are. Neighbors are Jake's, right? According to Leviticus. Where do we go? Slovakia. Yeah, it was a long night. Isaiah 19 KJV. Okay. So back here. And everyone against his neighbor. So Jake's are going to be out there going at it like they have been, you know. City against city and kingdom against kingdom. Right? So that's far away. Okay. Or even southern kingdom against the northern kingdom. You could get so many, right, equations, if you will. But the point is, it's just, we're in the time of war. Bibi Netanyahu pulled out, he keep pulling out the scriptures. Like he's running something, right? Funny. Second Ezra is what? 16. Let's get that. Let's get these wars. And then we'll play a couple more videos. So. Start at 17. Second Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, Jacob's trouble. the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars. And the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Great fear. The powers are standing in great fear, right? Everybody is worried right now, and they should be. All right, let's play a little more. Let's see what he says.
Matter, because either way it's going to be a huge stinking mess. Now, interestingly enough, when I got up this morning and I saw several people came out, several channels came out, actually channels that I don't usually watch, but I wanted to see what people were saying in this regard, and I see excitement. Now, I don't mean excitement amongst all those chest thumpers that we've heard from for years about, it's time to stand up, what?
This is interesting to watch Esau, right? And how he's measuring what's going on, right? Because they can't see things the way we do. And when I say we, I mean the men of the Lord, looking at things through a spiritual microscope, if you will. But it's interesting to see, and we'll look at a couple of the comments as well.
We stop talking and start doing something. Nobody pays attention to those people, or you shouldn't, because they're just trying to stir up stuff, and they're just talking. They're not doing
talking shit,
but they're acting like they would. Want to know why?
See what this thing is about. See, people talk a whole lot of shit. Okay, but here's what you got to remember about the battlefield. Okay. You go to the gun range and you shoot at targets. Everything is different on the two-way shooting range, okay? Everybody's got a gun, all right? So if you're walking around with your gun, talking shit, remember this, you're going to be being fired at too. And you better know how to fire and maneuver, all right? Think about that. You're going to be being shot at, and that changes everything. That's when you got to really use wisdom. All right?
Warrant. And of course, I've always said, well, for anything
Let's listen to that again.
We've heard from for years about, it's time to stand up. Why don't we stop talking and start doing something? Nobody pays attention to those people, or you shouldn't, because they're just trying to stir up stuff, and they're just talking. They're not doing anything, but they're acting like they would. Want to know why you aren't? And of course, I've always said, well, for anything to really come about, it's going to take enough people to be upset at the same time, and it's really going to take a leadership organism of some type. It's going to take something major enough to bring enough people together. And I think this could have been it, the situation in Texas. It's going to continue to evolve or devolve. And now we have 25 other states who are supporting Texas and their stand against the federal government. 25 good governors, 25 good states. There's a lot of other governors out there who aren't good governors, and they got good stakes because they got good people in them. But the problem is is the head of the state that is important. But we have many 25 other states, some sending troops, some sending all sorts of things. We have people spilling into that area from all across the country. What is going to happen? So anyway, this may be the catalyst. This may be what happens.
Okay, good enough. Let's read a couple of these comments before we go to pinball. Dude Bro 29 says, whether this goes hot right now or not, I feel like we've crossed the line. There's no coming back from it. Only gets worse from here. And it seems conflict will be inevitable at some point. Of course. What does this go directly to? Isaiah 19. Another possibility is if the country goes into a revolution or civil war, external entities may use the opportunity to attack. So this goes back to wars, plural. Did we get that? The beginning of plural, war. That's abroad, that's domestic, okay? It's everywhere, all right? Wars all over the planet. War in your mind. Okay, hey, you're at war. Some people are at war with themselves. Lost their mind. Okay. A lot of people are going to kill themselves, right? Oh, I'm going to commit suicide because I don't want to go through this battle. That's somebody that's at war with themselves. Hey, the Most High make you put a gun to your head. All right. So, so not only internal warfare, but also there is the potential for an external attack when we are vulnerable. It would be the perfect time for an EMP attack to cause maximum chaos. Okay, so, yeah, yeah. Okay, so, okay, he's going back into the Alamo. He speaks about the Alamo and all that. Look at that. So anyway, this generation can't decide what restroom to use, much less protect the country their fathers and grandfathers killed for, murdered, stole. All right, so let's go back. Let's go here. And we'll watch a little pinball preparedness and try to bring this to an end. So I was told to check this out, and I think I did, and he said some good things. Let's lock it. Yep, yep. Yep, yep. Okay, here we go. Start from the top. So,
happy Friday morning. Okay, hopefully you guys don't have problems with audio. I've seen.
Okay, so this is pinball preparedness 7 hours ago. We are going to war. Are you ready? All right, pinball preparedness. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's listen to what this guy has. He's gonna pitch his site for a second, then he'll get into it.
Comments that people are saying that the microphone doesn't work. I keep checking the videos. The microphone's fine. So, but I don't know. Okay. It's Friday, and we all know what happens on Friday. This is where stuff has a tendency to get buried late in the day, so nobody pays attention to it. Today might be interesting. We're going to see what happens. Yesterday morning, I was telling you about Oklahoma standing with Texas. Okay? Yeah, the plot thickened a lot yesterday when 25 governors, all Republicans, stated that they also stand with Texas in regards to this border invasion. There was an interesting story where Kristi Noem, South Dakota, came out and said she'll personally drive concertina wire down to Texas to help. Okay. This is coming to a head. Joe Biden, of course, is saying, well, the Supreme Court said they can cut it down. Like I told you yesterday, didn't say they couldn't put it back up. Right? So we'll see what happens there. But now we are starting to get very dicey, if you will, in what's going to happen next. There were calls yesterday by the Democrats, some congressmen, for Joe Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard.
Federale.
Okay. To authorize, to take the authorization, the control, the leadership away from Governor Abbott and give it to Joe Biden. Now I'm going to give you this. The last time the federal government took over the National Guard in any state was in 1957, the Little Rock Nine.
Uh-oh, Crispus Attucks. How does Jake get caught up in, why is it all about Jake? The last time, what? What was it? 7 black kids going to school It's always Jake in the middle of the beginning of a war.
in any state was in 1957.
I wanted to say that again.
Took over the national,
The last time.
the federal government took over the National Guard
Last time the federal government
in any state was in 1957. The Little Rock Nine. If you guys know this, but I'll give you just a real brief synopsis on it. This was desegregating schools. Okay, the Little Rock Nine were 9 black students that.
Now, the reason I say that, Crispus Attucks, right? What was the American Civil War about? Well, it was about slavery. Ask Nikki Haley what the American Civil War was about, and and she will evade your question. Well, it's simple. It was about slavery, right? And this guy, whatever he's talking about, well, we got to pull out the National Guard because of niggas. Let him finish, right? It's always, Jake is always the reason, okay? Why is the world as we know it, right, spiraling out of control? It all comes back down to Jake, all right?
Enrolled in a historically white high school. And of course, the Arkansas governor there said, this isn't going to happen. There was a bunch of protests, and the Arkansas governor sent the National Guard to this high school to assist the protesters in keeping the black students out of the school. Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the president, took control of the National Guard and said, this ain't happening, and then used the National Guard to help integrate the black students into the school. It still turned out to be a mess and everything like that. It's not like everybody went, oh, okay, you know what, my racial tendencies are, or racist tendencies are going to disappear. All right, that didn't happen. But again, this was 1957. We are almost 70 years later. Now, granted, you can say, well, we've had federal control over the National Guard, sending them to Iraq or, you know, whatever. Okay, and I agree. But federalizing National Guard troops on U.S. soil hasn't been done in nearly 70 years. You know, it's always been controlled by the states. And the states need that to protect themselves. You know, I think again it was Christy Nome who said the quote of "We are all also," you know, the governors are all also commanders in chief, which is true. Okay, they are the ultimate decision maker for their states. Joe is trying to dictate, and the Democrats want to use the military against American citizens. I want you to stop and think about what they are calling for.
Posse comitatus.
They are asking for Biden to assume control of the National Guard so the National Guard can go fight against other American citizens. Okay?
Now, that goes right back to Isaiah 19. Let's listen to that again. So we can see the prophecies, if you will, jumping on. He's saying verbatim, he's reciting verbatim Isaiah 19. Okay.
Guard, so the National Guard can go fight against other American citizens.
Other American citizens. The Egyptians against the Egyptians.
They're trying to portray it as help the illegals, okay? But in order to help the illegals, they've got to fight against Americans. Do you want your military fighting against you? So then the big question comes up of what will the National Guard troops do, right? Will they, I mean, the troops themselves, you know, will they actually acknowledge this order? Now, I'm going to give you this for just military knowledge here, because you hear all the time of I was just following orders, that excuse. How many times have we heard that in many ways?
UCMJ.
A soldier is not required to follow every order. A soldier is required to follow lawful orders. Okay. If some officer, the president, the governor, whatever it is, tells the soldiers to go in there and shoot everybody that is in your way,
UCMJ.
that's not a lawful order. Okay.
Uniform.
They can't do that.
Uniform.
They can't be punished for disobeying that order. I'll give you that. So is the order lawful? That's where the question comes in if Biden does this. Now, like I said, you have 25 states with Republican governors that agree with Governor Abbott. Of course, the Democrats are not going to, which makes it kind of interesting because you got like Kentucky, which Kentucky is a very solid red state for some goofy reason as a Democrat governor. Okay, Kentucky's not part of this, but I've got to think that overall, if the balloon goes up, Kentucky would be, for the most part, on the side of the patriots and not on the side of the communists. Let's leave it that way. So does Texas, and this is where we get back to the legal right, does Texas have the right to do what they are doing? Yes, the Supreme Court got this wrong, and Biden is too clueless to know it. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the Constitution states this: no state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded. So that, or engage in war, no state shall engage in war unless actually invaded. Now,
that kind of sounds like, what is that? The 14th Amendment? What is the one that allows slavery if you're locked up? It kind of, the fine print. Gotta listen to see the devil is in the details type of thing.
Greg Abbott has declared this an invasion a long time ago. So did many other governors, 25 of them who happened to sign this letter, okay,
Wow.
that we are being invaded from the southern border.
Because they understand that. See, if you don't understand at this point that this is an invasion, right, being allowed, right, by the commander-in-chief, that's treason. Okay? It's just treason. And by all, I got to be careful. I got to measure my words because, of course, you say the wrong thing, we're getting close to the famine. We're getting famine of the word. We're getting close to, unrighteous decrees being shoved down everybody's throat, right? Oh, you said this, you said that.
So does that authorize Texas to declare war against an invading force? It's not a country. Okay? These illegals aren't Mexico or Colombia or anything like that. It's just a invading force. Yes, you can declare war against an invading force. Hezbollah is not a country. Okay, just to give you that same idea here. Okay, we can declare war against a group of people. They don't necessarily have to be defined by a nation. So, what happens if we wind up going to war against the illegals? And the liberals want to take the side of the illegals over the side of the Americans. Do you see this? This is how crazy this is. Joe Biden wants to use, or at least some Democrat congressmen are pushing Joe Biden to use the U.S. military, the National Guard, in support of illegal alien invaders against American citizens. How close do you think we are to going to war on our own land? You want to give a good one? You know, we all know the doomsday clock. Doomsday clock that's been sitting at 100 seconds to midnight for a long time recently got moved to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest we have ever been. War's coming. Is it going to be on our soil against our own people? That's part of it. Is it going to be a worldwide conflict? That's part of it. But I will tell you this, as soon as we have a war on our own soil between our own people, the rest of the world is going, the U.S. is too busy fighting their own shit, and there's going to be chaos around the rest of the world. Be ready. It's coming. Polish that brass, because you're going to need it.
Stop that right there. Okay, so, I mean, this is just, for you to understand what's being said, semantics, and different terms being used. Is it a civil war? Is it a revolutionary? It doesn't matter, right? You can call it what you want to, right? Civil or revolution. So we'll get one on the way out, and what we're going to do is we're going to get Mark. I saw the brother, I believe the elder Karatazak from Las Vegas, I believe. I saw him use this version, and it was so on point that I'm like, let me get that. So shout out to the brother. This is Mark, because it makes it plain, right? And we'll get it in Mark 3. Let's get it in the King James first. Mark 3:24, and we'll read that. See how it reads. Where is it? And if a kingdom, and we all know this, and if a kingdom, right, be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. We all know that, yeah? But when you read it, right, that kingdom cannot stand. When you read that in the, what is it? NLT. A kingdom divided by revolutionary, civil war, will collapse. Okay, see that? It's the title of a movie that's coming up, yeah? And I thought that was, spiritual. This. Mark 3:24. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. So we'll leave it right there. We hope that the elect were edified. You brothers and you sisters, with that, shalom.